Hi, I'm Stephanie Matthew, and I'm here to talk about writing. I have no idea what I'm doing, just to get that out in the air. I have taught writing for 12 years, and I know how to teach kids how to write a rhetorical analysis or a 5-paragraph essay or even poetry or short stories, but I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to novel writing. And I have the desire, oh God, do I have the desire to finish my novel, but I don't know how to actually make that happen. So I'm here to look for a community of people who are maybe in the same place as me, writing-wise, that have the desire but have yet to actually finish their novel. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, I hope you stick around. I participated in PitMad Challenge, not actually in PitMad on Twitter. For those of you that don't know, PitMad is this great opportunity for people on Twitter to pitch their stories in a tweet to agents. What I participated in was a Facebook group run by Kathy Von Ecker, who runs the website Get a Book Deal 101. And what she does on Facebook, before each quarterly PitMad on Twitter, she has a group that works on how to actually write your PitMad tweet. And I found that to be super helpful. I thought she was so great at getting us to boil down who our characters were, what our plot was, and the kind of wants of the character to catch the eye of an agent. And I participated just in September, even though I wasn't ready to actually participate on Twitter PitMad because my novel's not done yet. But I found it super helpful. And one thing that she talked about in the PitMad Challenge was sticky mashups, where you can take any two characters or songs or books or movies or poems or TV shows and stick them together in a new genre that helps describe what your book is about. And so through that, I decided that my sticky mashup of my book was going to be Ocean's 11 meets Star Wars.
You're either in or you're out, right now.
I think it's kind of a lot to say that my book is going to be anything like Star Wars, but that's the idea, is that my book is basically a caper in space. What the PitMad Challenge helped me do was figure that out and figure out that that's kind of the niche genre that I want to fit in. So I want to share with you my plot and talk to you about some of the things that I'm working toward when I'm trying to finish figuring out what exactly happens in my novel. I started my novel 4 years ago in NaNoWriMo, and I've been working on it on and off ever since. I've started 2 others since then, but not in earnest. This is the one that I have the most written on. There are 238 pages written in this novel, but it doesn't have an ending yet. So I need to figure out how to actually get to the end so that I can finish the book. My goal is to do that by December. Maybe by March, because those are the next 2 Twitter PitMads. December, is that realistic? I don't know. I guess it depends on what happens with the world, right? Because I was in a really good streak of writing, and then we all know what happened in March 2019, or we all know what happened in March 2020. So yeah, I haven't written as much as I would have liked to for a while, but that's all right. So what I did was I took a Save the Cat style plot structure of a 3-act structure and tried to fit my story into that. This is by no means the only way that you could do this, but I just found it to be super helpful and interesting for my novel. So I'm going to share with you what I have written so far. The story's broken into 3 acts. There's Act 1, which is the goal is to have 20,000 words or 14 scenes. The first scene is, I really hope it's clear who my character is and where they live. In the second scene, I've got the theme stated as the main character, Verana, is talking to another character named Janice. So this is like the I Want kind of song in Broadway musicals. If you think about Hamilton, we get to know Hamilton, and then within the first couple of songs, maybe it's the second song, right away we get the I Want song, which is My Shot. We understand who Hamilton is, what he's motivated by, what he's driven to do, and what drives him to do it. And so that is that scene in your book where you kind of introduce the reader to what it is that the main character wants. Act 2 brings us the introduction of the B plot, and in my story I am working toward a romantic B plot, and There are certain tropes that I don't want to have in my book. I hate love triangles. Twilight, I feel like, ruined love triangles for me. But I really love enemies to lovers, enemies to friends to lovers. And so I'm trying to work that into my story. There are other romance tropes that I really want to avoid and some that I want to try to actively subvert. I think that traditional gender roles are things that I'm trying to be really careful about and avoid having traditional gender roles in my novel. And we'll see. We'll see if I accomplish that. So that's going into scene 1 of Act 2. In Act 2, we also want to have some sort of a reveal, something that is revealed to the characters that surprises and shocks them. Then, because this is a caper, I really want to have lots of planning and fun and games throughout the whole Act 2. So there's going to be like one crazy caper after the next to lead us to the end. And I really hope that this is a lot of fun. But right now, some of these are written just as like, and then calamity. Chaos ensues. And that's not super informative when I'm trying to write it, and that's when I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out exactly what's going to happen where. Then we move into Act 3, which is the end, and this is again more like 20,000 words or 14 scenes. It's a little bit shorter. So the main bulk of your story is in Act 2, and then Act 3 wraps up the story. I am going to try to wrap it up at the end with a little bit of loose ends for the possibility of a sequel. I've heard that when you're writing your debut novel, you should really pitch it as a standalone with serious potential. And I'm not even close to being ready to pitch this to anybody. And I realize that I'm getting the cart before the horse kind of. But I like the idea of having a duology. I think there's some amazing duologies out there. Of course, Six of Crows comes to mind, especially because the caper aspect of it. It was so well paced. There have been a lot of trilogies with saggy middles. My favorite trilogy out there right now, I have to just jump on the basic train and say that A Court of Thorn and Roses is just the epitome of a really good trilogy. I thought it was outstanding. Her pacing of the second book of The Court of Thorn and Roses is one of the best I've ever read, I feel. The fun and games of each new creepy character with the bone collector and the Baba Yaga character in the woods, and then the pacing of her enemies to lovers, Rhys and Feyre, that is one of my favorite romances I've ever read. And I would love to capture some of that magic in my own book. Now, I am not saying I am Sarah J. Maas. She is incredible, although I haven't finished any of her other books. But I think that she's incredible, and I'm not trying to compare myself to her, because that is absolutely not what I'm saying. But I do think that her pacing is something that I'm going to strive for. Keeping that in mind, at the end of my first book, I do want it to have a resolved plot with potential loose threads that could lead to a second book. So if following me along on this journey sounds interesting at all to you, or if you have advice to give to me about writing, plotting, filling in those blanks where it just says calamity, let me know, because I would love to find a community of people that are interested in writing. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're working on. And if you would like to share chapters with me or talk about writing with me, do so. You can find me here, and you can find me on Twitter. I'll see you in my next one.